7:30. By before 7:30 itself, everyone is there. So wonderful. Okay, I'm back to town. um, I thought I will catch up where whatever you left off. I mean, I didn't read all these days, but I didn't get to do it. Maybe by tomorrow I'll get back. So, shall I start facilitating?
Yes, Prabhu, you can go ahead.
Okay. So, which chapter are we reading?
Chapter 13.
13. Okay. Is the same model we were reading before, right?
Yeah, it's the same model, Prabhu.
Okay. Okay. So glad to be back. My apologies, I couldn't make up. I was way busy than my own capacity. Um, my apologies for that. Yeah. Chapter 13. Which text are we starting?
Is it 50, Radhimataji? I don't. 51.
Yes, 49 actually, Prabhu.
49? Okay.
God. Chapter 13, text 49. Okay, so basically this is about Dhritarashtra quitting home, right? Hmm. Okay. Okay. Can someone start offering praise by the time I just a quick glance?
Yeah. Are you sharing screen, Prabhu, for that, or maybe?
Yeah, I'm sharing the screen. You're not seeing my screen? Oh,
I am. I mean, for the
saying
prayers.
you want me to share the screen for the prayers? Okay. Just a second. Okay. I thought you all got by memory now.
Yeah, kind of, but I don't know if I missed again.
No problem, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Krishna.
Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Tadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Yuttam Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunantanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha One Hey
Okay, wait a
missed.
second. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu.
Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Takta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
You passed the exam, Prabhu.
Yeah, with a little help. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Okay. So, chapter 13. So far, the story is the title of the chapter is Dhritarashtra quits home and then says about Vidura coming back, basically Vidura left the palace, when Duryodhana insulted him, and he took the opportunity to go pilgrimage, and then he got way enlightened, and that we're going to read that section in Canto 3. Now he comes back, and then Maharaj Yudhishthira was so happy, because, Yudhira and Bhishma, some of the personalities, they cared a lot to the Pandavas, because they don't have their father in the young age and all that. So they were so happy. And it's a nice discussion, actually, how to receive a sadhu, right here. You all remember that, read that part, right? So this is a nice verse, you see. My Lord, devotees like your good self are verily holy places personified. So that is a power of pure devotees. Pure devotees, they're considered to be more powerful than the holy places actually. Or other way to say is, you go to holy place and you don't hear from a pure devotee, there's not much benefit. Or other way to say is, you come across a pure devotee, you hear from holy place. So this is what he's saying. Because you carry the personality of Godhead within your heart, you can turn all places into places of pilgrimage. That's the capacity, right? So, and then Yudhishthira comes to the point. What happened? How were they? Everyone. But Vidura doesn't answer. Compassionate Vidura could not stand to see the panda. Therefore, so this one, because by the time Krishna left the planet, you all read this, right? Am I no, telling something else? No. Yeah. Anyway, I'll go ahead with my story. So by that time, Krishna had left, but Vidura doesn't want to, Prabhupada writes a nice purport for this test actually. Vidura doesn't want to become the bearer of the bad news. He doesn't tell about, Krishna living and all that. So, huh? So, thus Vidura became treated as nicely, remained there for a certain period, and he played the role of a Sudra. You all know this story. He was basically Yamaraj, caused by Manduka Muni, all that. And then finally, the reason for Vidura's coming back is, what's the reason for Vidura's coming back?
So he wants to instruct Dhritarashtra regarding the stuff he is
He
doing.
want to deliver his brother, blind brother, Dhritarashtra, because there is no one else to help him. And then he gives left and right pretty strong words we see in the Bhagavatam here. He tells he tells in such a way he leaves, right? Yeah, we finish the section also. Dhritarashtra and Gandhari just leaves the place at the dead of the night. Okay, dead of the night. And then did the section say that what did they do after that? Did you all read what did Dhritarashtra and Gandhari do after leaving the palace?
That's when Yudhishthira looks for them, right, Prabhu? That's what you're asking?
For them, but what did they do? Like what did Dhritarashtra do?
I think they left.
No, I don't think
That's what we read. Yeah.
They left.
Vidura,
We didn't
they
come to that
accompany with
section.
Vidura. Yeah, 3 of them they left.
Okay, that's good. So Sanjaya was, bereft, and Maharaj Yudhishthira, he was also so anxious, but Narad Muni comes there. Now, godly, I don't know where to my uncle's saga, nor can I find my ascetic aunt, who is grief-stricken by the loss of her sons. You're like a captain. And thus addressed godly personality Narada, and Narada began to speak. Right? So we are in that section now. Narada starts speaking. and Narada was giving philosophy, and finally we come to the 50th text.
I
Okay.
think it's 49. 49 it seems, Prabhu. Yeah.
Okay, I will read just to solace myself, and then we'll go on the terms. Is that okay?
Sure, Prabhu.
Yeah. Okay, let's start. Soyam adya maharaja bhagavan bhuta bhavanah kalarupo avatirnosyam abhavaya suradvisham. The supreme personality Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, in the guise of all devouring time, Kala Rupa, has now descended to the earth to eliminate the envious from the world. Purport. There are two classes of human beings, namely the envious and obedient. Since the Supreme Lord is one and the Father of all living beings, the envious living beings are also his sons, but they are known as asuras. But the living beings who are obedient to the Supreme Father are called devatas or demigods, because they are not contaminated by the material conception of life. Not only are the asuras envious of the Lord in even denying the existence of the Lord, but they are also envious of all other living beings. The predominance of asuras in the world is occasionally rectified by the Lord when he eliminates them from the world and establishes a rule of devatas like the Pandavas. His designation as Kala in disguise is significant. He is not at all dangerous, but he is a transcendental form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. For the devotee, his factual form is disclosed, and for the non-devotee, he appears like a Kala Rupa, which is causal form. This causal form of the Lord is not at all pleasing to the asuras, and therefore they think of the Lord as formless in order to feel secure that they will not be vanquished by the Lord. Okay, I will read one more. Text. Nishpaditam deva krutyam avasesham pratikshate tavad yuyam avekshadvam bhavedyavad ivesvaraha. The Lord has performed his duties to help the demigods and is awaiting the rest. You Pandavas may wait as long as the Lord is here on earth. Krishna did not live, but the Dwarka thing happened by this time. Okay. Purport. The Lord descends from his abode Krishna Loka, the topmost planet in the spiritual sky, in order to help the demigod administrators of this material world, when they are greatly vexed by the asuras, who are envious not only of the Lord, but also of his devotees. As referred to above, the conditioned living beings contact material association by their own choice, dictated by a strong desire to lord it over the resources of the material world, and become imitation lords of all they survey. Everyone is trying to become an imitation god. There is a keen competition amongst such imitation gods, and such competitors are generally known as asuras. When there are too many asuras in the world, then it becomes a hell for those who are devotees of the Lord. Due to the growth of the asuras, mass of the people who are generally devoted to the Lord by nature, and the few devotees of the Lord, including the demigods in higher planets, pray to the Lord for relief. And the Lord either descends personally from his abode or deputes some of his devotees to remodel the fallen condition of human society or even animal society. Such disruptions takes place not only in human society but also among animals, birds, or other living beings, including the demigods and the higher planets. Lord Shri Krishna descended personally to vanquish asuras like Kamsa, Jarasandha, and Shishupal. And during the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira, almost all these asuras were killed by the Lord. Now, he is awaiting the annihilation of his own dynasty, called the Yaduvamsa, who appeared by his will in this world. He wanted to take them away before his own departure to his eternal abode. Narada, like Vidura, did not disclose the imminent annihilation of the Yadu dynasty, but indirectly gave a hint to the king and his brothers to wait till the incident happened and the Lord departed. Okay. Uh, what do I say? Maybe I will share something later. You all go ahead. Continue to the next verse.
You wanna go next, Kishore Prabhu?
Anything is fine. Okay, I can
What
go
is the
next.
order, Prabhu?
Yeah.
No, just
I don't
from the
remember.
Okay. Okay, let's start with A then. Amish Prabhu, you can go ahead. Amish Prabhu, Anisha Mataji, Kishore Prabhu, and Radhe Mataji. Okay, so that we can save the time asking each other like who will go next. Okay?
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Text 51. Dhritarashtra sa Bhratra Gandharya cha Swabharyaya Dakshinen Himavat Rushinamashramam Gataha. O king, your uncle Dhritarashtra, his brother Vidura, and his wife Gandhari have gone to the southern side of the Himalaya mountains, where there are shelters of the great sages. Purport: to pacify the mourning Maharaj Yudhishthir, Narada first of all spoke from his philosophical point of view, and then he began to describe the future movements of his uncle, which he could see by his foreseeing powers, and thus began to describe as follows.
Go ahead, Prabhu. Couple more verses.
Srotobhi Saptabhirya Vai Varduni Saptada Vyadat Saptanam Ritaye Nana Saptasrotah Prachakshate. Translation: the place is called Saptaro Saptasrota divided by 7 because there the waters of the sacred Ganges were divided into 7 branches. This was done for the satisfaction of the 7 great wishes. Natvanusavanam tasmin bhutva changinyathavidi abhaksha upshadhatma sa aste nigateshanaha. Translation: on the banks of Saptasrota, Dhritarashtra is now engaged in beginning Ashtanga Yoga by bathing 3 times daily in the morning, noon, and evening, by performing the Agnihotra sacrifice with fire, and by drinking only water. This helps one control the mind and the senses and frees one completely from thoughts of familial affection. Purport: the yoga system is a mechanical way to control the senses and the mind and divert them from matter to spirit. The preliminary processes are the sitting posture, meditation, spiritual thoughts, manipulation of air passing within the body, and gradual situation in trance, facing the absolute person, Paramatma. Such mechanical ways of rising to the spiritual platform prescribe some regulatory principles of taking bath daily 3 times, fasting as far as possible, sitting and concentrating the mind on spiritual matters, and thus gradually becoming free from visaya or material objectives. Material existence means to be absorbed in the material objective, which is simply illusory. House, country, family, society, children, property, and business are some of the material coverings of the spirit, Atma, and the yoga system helps one to become free from all these illusory thoughts and gradually turn towards the absolute person, Paramatma. By material association and education, we learn simply to concentrate on flimsy things, but yoga is a process of forgetting them altogether. Modern so-called yogis and yoga systems manifest some magical feat, and ignorant persons are attracted by such false things, or they accept the yoga system as a cheap healing process for diseases of the gross body. But factually, the yoga system is the process of learning to forget what we have acquired throughout the struggle for existence.
Hmm.
Dhritarashtra was all along engaged in improving family affairs by raising the standard of living of his sons, or by usurping the property of the Pandavas for the sake of his own sons. These are common affairs for a man grossly materialistic and without knowledge of the spiritual course. He does not see how this can drag one from heaven to hell. By the grace of his younger brother Vidura, Dhritarashtra was enlightened and could see his grossly illusory engagements, and by such enlightenment he was able to leave home for spiritual realization. Sri Narad Dev was just foretelling the way of his spiritual progress in a place which was sanctified by the flow of the celestial Ganges. Drinking water only without solid food is also considered fasting. This is necessary for advancement of spiritual knowledge. A foolish man wants to be a cheap yogi without observing the regulatory principles. A man who has no control over the tongue at first can hardly become a yogi. Yogi and bhogi are two opposite terms. The bhogi, or the merry man who eats and drinks, cannot be a yogi, for a yogi is never allowed to eat and drink unrestrictedly. We may note with profit how Dhritarashtra began his yoga system by drinking water only and sitting calmly in a place with a spiritual atmosphere, deeply absorbed in the thoughts of the Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead.
Hmm. You want to say something, Prabhu?
Um, so this is more of a kind of the continuation of the story. You know what Dhritarashtra was doing. So you were
Hmm.
asking earlier, Prabhu. So
Hmm. Hmm.
so he's here, at the southern side of Himalaya mountains where sages live.
Hmm.
The place is called Saptasrota.
Hmm.
So that is a place where Ganga is divided into seven branches,
Hmm.
and the last text explains the routine of Dhritarashtra. Prabhupada explains here the importance of yoga and what exactly yoga means. So
Hmm.
yoga is not just a curative type of exercise, but it is really a process of forgetting,
Self-realization.
right? So forgetting what we have acquired through the struggle for existence.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's really nice.
That's interesting, no?
Yeah. So yogi and bhogi. So that's where Prabhupada draws a distinction. And so yeah, it's more about giving up or sacrificing.
Hmm.
That's how you sort of conduct yoga.
Yeah.
Basically,
It's,
controlling your mind and your senses.
that's right. It's also this is called this is for purification. And as
Purification.
Prabhupada is explaining here, when we are working hard, struggling for existence, we do so many things, right? A thief may, steal something for his living. Here, Dhritarashtra, he was both ways. One is he is trying to take care of the, raising the standards of living of his sons, or the other way he is doing is usurping the property of the Pandavas for the sake of his own sons. Right? Both are not good. So in that process, then there is entanglement. They know it in the Sanskrit. It creates something called vasana. When you do something right, next time it becomes easy, and then you do it 10 times, it becomes like a being, right? So this yoga helps us get freed from that contamination, and
Mhm.
so that the spiritual journey can be can happen. Okay. Okay. Anusha Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Jita Sanojita Swasha Pratyahृता Sad Indriyaha Hari Bhavanaya Tv- Tvasta Raja Satwan Tamomala.
Mm,
Translation: one who has controlled his sitting postures, the yogic asanas, and the breathing process can turn the senses towards the absolute personality of Godhead and thus become immune to the contaminations of the modes of material nature, namely mundane goodness, passion, and ignorance.
mm,
Purport: the preliminary activities of the way of yoga are asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dhyana, dharana, etc. Maharaja Dhritarashtra was to attain success in those preliminary actions because he was seated in a sanctified place and was concentrating upon one objective, namely the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. Thus, all his senses were being engaged in the service of the Lord. This process directly helps the devotee to get freedom from the contaminations of the three material modes of nature. Even the highest mode, the material mode of goodness, is also a cause of material bondage, and what to speak of other qualities, namely passion and ignorance. Passion and ignorance increase the material propensities of hankering for material enjoyment, and a strong sense of lust provokes the accumulation of wealth and power. One who has conquered these two base mentalities and has raised himself to the platform of goodness, which is full of knowledge and morality, cannot also control the senses, namely the eyes, the tongue, the nose, the ear, and touch. But one who has surrendered himself unto the lotus feet of the Lord Hari, as above mentioned, can transcend all influences of the modes of material nature and be fixed in the service of the Lord. The Bhakti Yoga process therefore directly applies the senses to the loving service of the Lord. This prohibits the performer from engaging in material activities. This process of turning the senses from material attachment to the loving transcendental service of the Lord is called pratyahara, and the very process is called pranayama, ultimately ending in samadhi or absorption in pleasing the Supreme Lord Hari by all means.
Hmm. You want to say something, Mataji?
Yeah, he in this purport, the Bhakti Yoga is the best, even though the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, can fail.
Hmm.
But the Bhakti Yoga is like um, always thinking or putting our senses to the Lord, service of the Lord.
Hmm.
We will prohibit, like we can stop engaging in material activities.
Hmm.
With this Bhakti Yoga, uh, we can attain
All the stages pretty quickly, very
correct,
quickly actually, very
right,
quickly. But rest of the processes, one may be in the mode of goodness. Even goodness person is like very charitable and all those things. Even goodness is really, the person goodness is, top class person actually. But even that is, not really a, freedom from the bondage. Right? What to speak of passion and ignorance. Passion and ignorance is person is always hankering more enjoyment, more lust, more wealth, more power. He was going on and on. So, um, by Bhakti Yoga, process of Bhakti Yoga, I mean, Dhritarashtra, what he's doing is he did a lot of things in the past, but good thing is he's in a way practicing Bhakti Yoga, although he's doing Ashtanga Yoga here, because the main trigger point is Vidura. Vidura just impelled him, empowered him, to at once get out of the situation he bound himself in, and then also empowered him, to practice this. And for that reason, the purification is happening pretty quickly. But there's something else happens. Let's see what happens next. Next is Kishore Prabhu, right?
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhu.
विज्ञानात्मानि संयोज्य क्षेत्रज्ञे प्रविलाप्यतं ब्रह्मणि आत्मानाम् आधारे गताम्बरम् इवाम्बरे. Translation: Dhritarashtra will have to amalgamate his pure identity with intelligence and then merge into the Supreme Being without knowledge of his qualitative oneness as a living entity with the Supreme Brahman. Being freed from the blocked sky, he will have to rise to the spiritual sky. Purport: the living being, by his desiring to lord it over the material world and declining to cooperate with the Supreme Lord, contacts the sum total of the material world, namely the Mahat Tattva, and from the Mahat Tattva, his false identity with the material world, intelligence, mind, and senses is developed. This covers his pure spiritual identity. By a yogic process, when his pure identity is realized in self realization, one has to revert to the original position by amalgamating the five gross elements and the subtle elements, mind and intelligence, into the Mahat Tattva again. Thus, getting freed from the clutches of the Mahat Tattva, he has to merge in the existence of the Super Soul. In other words, he has to realize that qualitatively he is not different from the Super Soul, and thus he transcends the material sky. by his pure identical intelligence and thus become engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. This is the highest perfectional development of spiritual identity, which was attained by Dhritarashtra by the grace of Vidura and the Lord. The Lord's mercy was bestowed upon him by his personal contact with Vidura, and when he was actually practicing the instructions of Vidura, the Lord helped him to attain the highest perfectional stage. A pure devotee of the Lord does not live on any planet of the material sky, nor does he feel any contact with material elements. His so-called material body does not exist, being surcharged with the spiritual current of the Lord's identical interest, and thus he is permanently freed from all contaminations of the sum total of the Mahat Tattva. He is always in the spiritual sky, which he attains by being transcendental to the sevenfold material coverings by the effect of his devotional service. The conditioned souls are within the coverings, whereas the liberated soul is far beyond the cover.
You want to say something, Prabhu?
Yeah, Prabhu. So the here as any living entity uh, under the clutches of like Maya. So here the material world, they enter into the material world, even though they are one qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord, and then they
They're actually from the spiritual world.
right.
They're actually from the spiritual world. Everything is there, and everything is there. They have their own, everything is there. Like, how we are coming from India, right? Like that, of the sense, just give an example. But the thing is, they want to do something. That is, they want to lord it over. And also, they want decline to cooperate with the Supreme Lord. They say, I don't want to be with you.
Okay.
Then they
Because of
contact.
their desires.
Yeah.
Right. And their desire to lord it over the Supreme Lord. And
Mm.
then they contact Mahat Tattva is what it said. That's material world. And
Mahatattva is like it's not material world, it's like a warehouse. So there the living entity comes and takes all these different body parts. Like, the body parts we have, right?
senses
The
and all.
skin, the eyes, ears, jnanendriyas and karmendriyas and all that, mind, intelligence and senses is developed. And it gets the covering, and then they continues the whole journey in the material world.
Okay.
Okay.
And here it's said by the yogic process, they attain self-realization.
Hmm.
They come out of that Mahat Tattva again.
Yeah.
And then they merge into the super soul. So that is what they realize, that they are nothing different from the super soul in quality, not
Qualitatively.
quantity, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
qualitatively.
Hmm.
And then they start engaging in the transcendental loving service
Yeah.
of the Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes the process complete again. Okay. Okay. Radhe Mataji.
Yes, Baba. Okay. Tuvasta mayo guna maya guna udarka niruta karana asyaha nivartita akila ahara aste sana iva akala tasya atharyaha maeva abhuha sanyasta akila karmanaha. Translation: He will have to suspend all the action of the senses, even from the outside, and will have to be impervious to interactions of senses, which are influenced by the modes of material nature. After renouncing all the material duty, he must become immovably established beyond all source of hindrance on the path. Purport: Dhritarashtra had attained by the yogic process the stage of negation of all sort of material reaction. The effects of the material modes of nature draws the victim of infallible desires of enjoying matter, but one can escape such false enjoyment by yogic process. Every sense is always busy in searching for its food, and thus the conditioned soul is assaulted from all sides and has no chance to become steady in any pursuit. Maharaj Yudhishthira was advised by Narada not to disturb his uncle by attempting to bring him back home. He was now beyond the attraction of anything material. The material mode of nature, the gunas, have their different modes of activity. But above the material modes of nature is the spiritual mode, which is absolute. Nirguna means without reaction. The spiritual mode and its effects are identical. Therefore, the spiritual quality is distinguished from its material counterpart by the word nirguna. After complete suspension of the material modes of nature, one is admitted to the spiritual sphere, and the action dictated by the spiritual mode is called devotional service or bhakti. Bhakti is therefore nirguna, attained by direct contact with the Absolute.
57.
Oh, okay. Sava Atya Tanat Rajan Paratha Panchame Hani Kalevaram Hasyati Svam Tat Sha Pashmi Pavishyati. Translation: O king, he will quit his body most probably on the fifth day from today, and his body will turn to ashes. Purport: Narada Muni's propensity prohibited Yudhishthira Maharaja from going to the place where his uncle was staying, because even after quitting the body by his own mystic power, Dhritarashtra would not be in need of any funeral ceremony. Narada Muni indicated that his body by itself would burn to ashes. The perfection of yoga system is attained by such mystic power. The yogi is able to quit his body by his own choice of time and can attain any planet he desires by turning the present body into ashes by self made fire.
Okay, one more verse, Mataji.
Okay. Takshe mane agnibhya tehe patyo patni saha uttejye ahit stita patim satvi tam agnim anuvishyati.
Pekshati. Yeah.
Nakshati. Translation: While outside observing her husband, who will burn in the fire of mystic power, along with his thatched cottage, his chaste wife will enter the fire with rapt attention. Purport: Gandhari was an ideal chaste lady and life companion of her husband, and therefore, when she saw her husband burning in the fire of mystic yoga, along with his cottage of leaves, she despaired. She left home after losing her 100 sons, and in the forest she saw that her beloved husband was also burning. Now she actually felt alone, and therefore she entered the fire of her husband and followed her husband to death. This entering of a chaste lady into the fire of her dead husband is called sati right, and the action is considered to be most perfect for a woman. In a later age, this sati right became an obnoxious criminal affair because the
Obnoxious. Obnoxious criminal
obnoxious
affair.
criminal affair because the ceremony was forced upon even an unwilling woman. In this fallen age, it is not possible for any lady to follow the sati rite as chastely as it was done by Gandhari and others in past ages. A chaste wife like Gandhari would feel the separation of her husband to be more burning than the actual fire. Such lady can observe the sati rite voluntarily, and there is no criminal force by anyone. When the rite became formality only and the force was applied upon a lady to follow the principle, actually it became criminal, and therefore the ceremony was to be stopped by state law. This propensity of Narada Muni to Maharaj Yudhishthira forbade him to go to his widowed aunt.
Hmm. Yeah. You want to say something, Mataji?
So he's like Narada Muni is like giving the information to Yudhishthira, like within next 5 days from today, your uncle will be moving out of his body and by his mystic power, and his body will be burnt, and you don't have to go and do the final rites also. So it
Hmm.
was like giving all the information. So he's like a person, and before even he gives that information, he's telling like a person, if he comes out of the material nature, he normally moves towards the spiritual mode, which is the absolute. So
Hmm.
he's telling about all the spiritual things, and then he's telling about his uncle's stuff. So you don't
Hmm.
have to go and do the final ceremony also. It's like
Hmm.
as soon as, since he is a yogi, as soon as he quits the body, he by his own will, he knows what time he want to quit and where he want to go. So he
Hmm.
chooses the time, and
Hmm.
he chooses the planet where he wants to go.
Hmm.
And because of his own self, because he is making a self-made fire, normally his body will be burnt into ashes.
Hmm.
So that also he is mentioning, and he's properly mentioning about Gandhari also. Gandhari actually, she was actually following Dhritarashtra because
Okay.
Vidra was telling Dhritarashtra to follow Dhira procedure of proceeding, no, other than sannyasi and Niruttama, right? So she was following along with him. So she, as soon as she saw that he's getting burnt by himself, by his mystic power, she got like little upset because she already lost 100 sons, and now she is seeing her husband is also burning, and the cottage is also getting burnt. So she is like entering into the cottage. It's like a sati procedure they are talking about. So initially there was like a sati procedure where the wife, when she feels like she cannot feel the separation with the husband, she can go ahead for this procedure. But after like a long time, like a lot of things have changed, and a lot of people doesn't want to do it, and they are forcibly being done, sent along with the husband. So that is being stopped at one stage, and that is what like Narada is like telling to Maharaj Yudhishthira, like you don't even have to go and get your auntie. She is
Yeah.
also going inside the.
Yeah. Okay. That. Thank you, Mataji. I think that's it, right? We have no one else. I only see 5 of us.
Yeah.
So, just something to highlight here. Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, there are different ways of leaving the body, and this is one of the way to leave the body. And Krishna also tells in Bhagavad Gita that everything matters. If one is following this route of Dhritarashtra, the way he is leaving the body, like basically he's purifying his senses, he's controlling himself with a lot of austerity, and then finally amalgamating his the whatever sense elements, and then finally choosing his destination, and then in the fire of yogic trance he's burning himself up and moving, right? So, and there is a lot more details Krishna tells in Gita, like he has to leave from this that Randhra. What's the top Randhra called? I forgot. Jnana Randhra, something like that. It on the in the head, it will be there, and he has to leave at this specific time, specific day. There are a lot of conditions there. Okay, so based on that, they will go to the next destination. And there is one way. But the devotees, they don't need to go through this. Prabhupada mentioned it in the purport. Kishore Prabhu read. Devotees, they don't need to go through. A pure devotee of the Lord, he doesn't want to live on any of the metal sky, nor does he feel contact with metal elements. Being surcharged with this spiritual current of the Lord's identical interest, he is permanently freed of all the contamination from the sum total of Mahatattva. He is always in the spiritual sky, which he attains, being transcendental to the sevenfold material coverings by the effect of his devotional service. For a pure devotee, those rules doesn't matter. This amalgamation doesn't matter. It just happens pretty quick. Much quicker than this process. What is it? And the way Dhritarashtra is leaving the body, it is not completely bhakti, but it's a kind of mix of bhakti and yoga. Okay, if one is just doing yoga, it is more tedious process, not easy process at all. But he is adding bhakti is happening pretty quickly for him. Okay, just some thoughts to share on this section. So now we'll open for reflections. Yeah, what is it you want to take from your discussion today and possibly remember, or improve your chanting with that understanding.
So, Prabhu, I can go first.
Mm.
So, some of it you answered it already. So first I thought, the Dhritarashtra, his how he was before or before Vidra's instructions. We have seen, in Mahabharata, everything, how he was and how family affection, and all those things. And just with not just, but with the pure devotees, like after Vidra came and gave that instructions, he turned completely. It was sometimes even by listening, it's not, I can't even believe it, like how he became that becoming into yogic, perfect yogi.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it was very short period of time, I believe, because Narada
Yeah.
Muni said within 5 days
He's going to
of
leave.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So how one can attain that perfection, even a
Mm.
yogi, because we know that yoga is not that simple
Yeah.
comparatively to bhakti yoga, and bhakti
Mm.
yoga takes sometimes lifetimes.
Mm.
So yoga is that is so amazing
Mm.
uh, to change, that I liked it. And
Bhakti yoga doesn't take so much time. Bhakti yoga is the most fastest.
yeah, so but yoga itself, bhakti yoga takes faster than easier and faster and
It
effective,
doesn't take lifetimes. It can
not lifetime.
one time reporter asked Prabhupada or someone asked Prabhupada how much time it takes.
Yeah, I think I heard. 1 second, like next minute,
Yeah, it
minute,
just
please.
take a minute,
Yeah,
in a moment, not even a moment. It just takes a
right.
moment. But only thing is you need to be, detached from your attachments. And there was an example. I think it was Khatvanga Maharaj. He left the body, head in Krishna consciousness in a moment, actually. Um,
Yeah,
so it is
that's why I
possible.
think it is very important to associate with devotees. You never know how you connect to easily
Yeah.
uh, with the bhakti process. So that is something I like.
Mm.
And the sati rites that's mentioned here,
Mm.
that was good. How it was being forced
Mm.
after slowly, and then it was completely banished now. But yeah,
Yeah, because
and
people were just, throwing the people into the fire. Poor people.
right, right,
Here what Gandhari is doing different, and nobody is there to force her. She is doing it happily and what, because that's the way of Vedic life, and
right.
people
It's mentioned
qualify.
clearly that by separation she would feel more
Mm.
hard living than burning in
Yeah.
fire itself. So that's
Mm.
makes sense.
Nice.
Thanks, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Prabhu, I can just, I think my reflection is just about the yoga system, and I also had the same dilemma as Kishore Prabhu.
Mm.
Because all this thing happened so quickly, So
Mm.
we were, this chapter, the majority of this chapter was about, Dhritarashtra, Vidura coming and explaining to
Mm.
Dhritarashtra.
Mm.
Yudhishthira leaves in the middle of the night.
Mm.
Nobody knows where he has gone, and then Yudhishthira starts searching. So it's only a matter of a couple of days.
Yeah.
And by the time Narad comes, he's already explaining this is what Dhritarashtra is up to.
Mm.
That was amazing that he accomplished so much in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a lot of mercy.
yeah,
Because Dhritarashtra was way attached. Imagine his situation. All along his life, he was competing with the Pandavas.
right,
I mean, he was involved, although he doesn't involve directly, but he was involved in all the things Duryodhana did, like trying to kill Pandavas. Such a bad extent he went, and now the story is that all of those 100 sons were like just got killed by these Pandavas. It's a double enmity, right? First of all, he is being enmity with them all along, and then all his sons got killed, and then after all this, at the end of the day, he just behaving like a king, staying in their house. You see the attachment there? That's
right,
what Vidura points out, right?
right,
You're just eating the remnants of left by Bhima. That's what he says.
right, right, right,
And imagine, like, how how much impact hearing from Vidura has helped him. He was able to at once get out, not only get out and take up this purification, like not only take up the purification, but purify himself actually.
right.
Um, and Prabhupada is writing here, right? Krishna arranged through Vidura here. Where is it? Something. So that is the power of a pure devotee. The association of pure devotee. We're going to read that in the 18th chapter. Not 18th. I think next couple of chapters. I think 14 or 15 chapter somewhere. There is one verse that says, if you associate, like how we are reading, right? That is also association with the Srila Prabhupada and all the great souls, Vyasadeva and everyone. By associating even for a moment, it has the power to bless a gift that is not available within the 14 planets. I mean, within this universe, basically. So, and we can see Dhritarashtra, how bad background he has. Of course, he didn't complete it. He didn't go back to Krishna because the things he did is not forgivable. But at least he was able to purify himself. He can start a fresh life. That's what happened here. Okay, we will. Yeah, Prabhu.
No, I was just saying, I think in the earlier text, Prabhu, that you read about, Lord Krishna had descended personally to, kill all the asuras,
Yeah.
and then he was going to leave. So I think that is a sort of an incomplete topic. I think we'll read more about it in the coming chapter.
Sure, Prabhu. We will do that. Yeah. And we are going to 823, and we will ask Radhe Mataji, Anusha Mataji, you have any inspirations that you want to take from, for you, do your chanting tomorrow, or, yeah.
Sure, Prabhu. I have like lot of things today. I was like lot
What
of
is
things.
your top one?
Top one is like I was thinking of the advancement of spiritual knowledge. So when you were
Mm,
discussing about Dhritarashtra, right? So he was doing
mm,
a lot of things in his life, but
mm,
he was like by his advice of his brother, he took up this process of yoga system, right? Yoga
mm,
system with Bhakti Yoga. So he was
mm,
actually turned up front, like he
mm,
was in a palace day before
mm.
day, and he totally moved to a stage where he was just drinking only the water.
He was
And
just happily enjoying in the palace.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Before day was sitting in a palace and enjoying. The next day he's like drinking only water and sitting in a calm
I
place
hope
and
you won't do
thinking.
that, Mataji. If you
Yeah,
do it, it will be trouble. Don't do that.
I'm not. I'm not planning also, Prabhu. I'm just thinking of like, how is that even possible?
If you want, you can get inspired to chant nicely, like Hare
Yeah,
Krishna, be present, and you can do that part, but not don't do that austerity of giving up the things.
yeah, Prabhu. I understand that. I was thinking, how is it
Your
even
daughter will be
possible?
upset on us.
Yeah, yeah, sure, Prabhu. So other thing is like I was thinking about all the senses, right? So about when we were reading the goodness, right? The mode of goodness, it was
Mm,
saying like even with the person who's in goodness, they will not be able to give up all the sense things, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
they understand nose, ears, and touch. Only when you surrender to Lord Krishna,
yeah.
you'll be like totally out of this thing, which I thought like, oh
Mm,
my god. So yeah, I
mm,
can't even think of like leaving the food or like hearing, so without
yeah.
hearing things. So I was like, wow, it's so nice. So which I thought like it's very nice for today, Prabhu. And other than that, like about the
Mataji, since we are running out of time, we'll keep to your top two. Is that good enough?
yeah,
We
yeah,
have
sure.
want to hear from Anusha Mataji, because we're already 8:26 already.
Mhm.
Hmm? Okay. Okay, Anusha Mataji.
Mine is pretty much everyone covered Prabhu. Mine, like I'm more connected to association with devotees, like you were saying in the morning,
Yeah.
and even now I heard.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, so that was I really connected to that.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, this is the nice verse. We can go back. The what Yudhishthira Maharaj says, "My Lord, devotees like your good self are verily holy places personified." Basically, when you're coming, the holy place is coming. That's what he was telling. The reason is because you carry the personality of Godhead within your heart. you turn all places into places of pilgrimage. So, Prabhupada writes, the personality of God is omnipresent by his diverse potency everywhere, just as the power of electricity is distributed everywhere within space. Similarly, the Lord's omnipotence is perceived and manifested by his unallied devotees like Vidura, just electricity is manifested in an electric bulb. That's a specialty of pure devotees. They can find Krishna. A pure devotee like Vidura always feels the presence of the Lord everywhere. He sees everything in the potency of the Lord and the Lord in everything. The holy places all over the earth are meant for purifying the polluted consciousness of the human being by an atmosphere surcharged with the presence of the Lord's unallied devotee. So, if anyone visits a holy place, he must search out the pure devotee residing in such holy places and take lessons from them and try to apply such instructions in practical life and thus gradually prepare oneself for the ultimate salvation going back to Godhead. Making sense? If we at all go to pilgrimage, we have to hear from pure devotee and take instructions, apply it, and that way, to go to some holy place of pilgrimage does not mean only to take bath in the Ganges or Yamuna or to visit temples situated in these holy places. One should also find representatives of Vidura who have no desire in life save and except to serve the personality of Godhead. The personality of Godhead is always with such pure devotees because of their unallied service, which is without any tinge of fruitive action or utopian speculation. That's also another specialty of pure devotees. They are in the actual service of the Lord, specifically by the process of hearing and chanting. So, the pure devotees hear from the authorities and chant, sing, and write of the glories of the Lord. Mahamuni Vyasadeva heard from Narada, and then he chanted in writing. Sukadeva Goswami studied from his father and described to Parishit. That is the way of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, by their actions, the pure devotees of the Lord can render any place into the place of pilgrimage, and the holy places are worth the name only on their account. Such pure devotees are able to rectify the polluted atmosphere of any place, and what to speak of a holy place, rendered unholy by the questionable actions of interested persons who try to adopt a professional life at the cost of reputation of a holy place. So, with that, can we close our today's call?
Prabhu.
Yes,
Okay.
Sure, Prabhu.
Thank you all very, very much. Thank you for letting me back, although
Thank you.
I was missing. Wish you a very wonderful Krishna conscious day and really have a wonderful chanting tomorrow. Okay? Please chant and then please pray for me and bless me also to chant nicely for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Thank you.